Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. I'm Nikki Kimbleton. I'm the spokeswoman and the Director of Public Affairs for the City of Jacksonville. Mayor Lenny Curry had a very important family commitment today. He could not join us in person. However, he knows the importance of updating the media and the public on our current situation with COVID-19, and he asked me and also our Chief of Staff to be here in his place today. And thank you all for joining us. So joining me on the call today is Chief of Staff Jordan Elsbury. We have Sheriff Mike Williams from the Jacksonville Sheriffs Office. We also have Fire Chief Keith Powers here and Emergency Operations Center Director Steve Woodard. We will begin with Director Woodard this afternoon, who is going to recap the most recent COVID-19 data. Director Woodard.
Yes, thank you. Today, the Florida Department of Health reported an additional 251 COVID patients for Duval County. The number of deaths remains the same at 64. Today, we've also exceeded over 100,000 tests countywide, with 101,456 tests being conducted, 5.76% of which are positive, and that's compared to a statewide average of 7.5%. Testing continues at over 25 test sites in the city. Yesterday at Lot J, 864 tests were completed, and at Legend Center, 400 tests. The hospital situation is as follows. The number of adult beds occupied is at 67.6%, and that equates to 1,314 beds available. ICU beds are at 72.5% occupied and 120 beds available. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Director Woodard, and he will be available at the end of this call and the question and answer period to answer any additional questions. We do have an announcement this afternoon. The City of Jacksonville, as of 5 p.m. today, will be adopting a mandatory mask requirement for public and indoor locations, and also in other situations where individuals cannot be socially distanced. Healthcare experts advise that masks and cloth face coverings, they help slow the spread from individuals with COVID-19 to vulnerable populations, including from those who are asymptomatic. And as we've been mentioning to you over the last week and a half, especially, a lot of those people that are being tested and testing positive don't have symptoms. We continue to urge everybody, please practice personal responsibility. Do your part to please help stop the spread of this virus. I want to talk about testing a little bit. You know, here in Duval County, in fact, Director Woodard was just mentioning that we are testing more people than ever before. We've performed approximately 100,000 COVID-19 tests. Testing remains a key focus in Mayor Curry's strategy moving forward. Mayor Curry actually appointed Dr. Charles Moreland on our team to lead and coordinate the expansion of COVID-19 testing. This is something that we mentioned to you a little more than a week ago. So over the next few weeks, we are going to be standing up additional testing locations throughout the county. We will have testing available in Mandarin, on the Westside, in Arlington, on the Northside, and also we're going to have testing throughout the Beaches communities. Now, these are all in addition to the sites that are currently up and in operation. So for the Beaches communities, we're actually working in partnership with Telescope Health right now. They assisted us with our Prime Osborn site, one of the first to open a little bit earlier this year. We're going to be offering mobile testing, and that's going to be throughout Atlantic, Neptune, and Jacksonville Beaches. And a thank you to the mayors in those communities who have been working with us together to make this happen. Other locations around the city will be operated in partnership with OptumServe Health, and we are also completing details right now with Agape Community Health Center. We are also working to move Lot J, that site, to an indoor testing facility, which will not be impacted by weather. We are currently still trying to make that happen as quickly as possible. We'll have more information for you on that in the next week to 2 weeks. So when all is said and done, there will be 6 additional hard locations for testing and multiple mobile testing options for Jacksonville citizens. And once again, we expect those to happen within the next couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, Mayor Curry announced the Senior and Disabled Financial Assistance Program to provide one-time $300 payments to 3,300 qualified seniors and disabled citizens. Applications were accepted on Saturday, June 20th, and those spots filled up rather quickly. Those who submitted applications and qualified for the program, you're going to be notified by our staff starting today. These direct benefits are for our senior and disabled citizens who have experienced a reduction in income or increased expenses during the COVID-19 pandemic, and demonstrate the mayor and the city's commitment to assisting and doing what we can to help those affected financially because of this virus. As many of you know, we are just a few days away from the 4th of July. So this Saturday, we are going to celebrate our nation's independence with the largest fireworks show in Jacksonville's history. Fireworks are going to launch from 6 different locations throughout Duval County. Those are FSCJ North Campus, Normandy on the west side, Ed Austin Regional Park in Arlington, Fort Caroline, the St. John's Town Center, the Avenues Mall, and of course, downtown Jacksonville. So we're offering these additional viewing locations to allow residents to celebrate this annual tradition, socially distanced in or near their own communities. Now, you can also view the show from home, and this is thanks to the city's partnership with 97.9 KISS FM, WJXT, and also PRI Productions. It's called Red, White, and Boom. The official show music is going to be broadcast on 97.9 and also 99.1 WQIK. Spectators can listen to this. It's synchronized music. You can listen to it from your vehicle or your mobile device or from your home as well. The fireworks show is going to start Saturday night at 9:45 p.m. Please, if you do go to one of the viewing areas, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart from others who are not part of your group, and remember, masks in public places are going to be mandated at 5 p.m. tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Before we wrap up, a few reminders, please, about the personal measures that you can take to reduce the impact of COVID-19. Please wear your masks when you're indoors in places where it's difficult to maintain social distances, especially. This includes places like grocery stores. Sanitize your hands frequently, and also touched items and places, door handles, your cell phones, handrails, and more. Try to maintain that proper social distance that Mayor Curry has been talking about since the very beginning. Please try to keep 6 feet apart. And as the mayor has said frequently, it's through practicing personal responsibility and taking these necessary actions that we, all of Jacksonville, can help stop the spread of this virus. Before we go to questions, I want to give a few of our guests the opportunity to make some brief statements. We're going to start with Sheriff Mike Williams. Sheriff?
Yeah, thank you. So just a quick update on the jail. So as you know, we've had a spike in cases in the jail that started about 8 to 10 days ago. As we sit here today, we now have 128 positive cases in the jail. We have tested all the inmates in all 3 facilities that we have in the county. You'll notice a difference in the number. 178 was our peak. We're at 128 today because 50 people have been released through just normal jail process. Those people that were released were screened by our medical provider, educated about quarantine requirements, and then will be followed up with the Department of Health. So we are currently continuing to monitor those inmates. And again, we've tested everybody. Everybody coming into the jail now is tested and quarantined as part of the entrance or booking process into the jail. And the state attorney is currently reviewing current inmates in the jail. The state attorney and the judiciary reference potential review of cases that we can ROR, where there'd be obviously no impact to public safety, and then review cases that are close to end of sentence for potential sentence modification to let some of those people go in an effort really only to obviously lower the jail population. And so we continue to look at all those measures to be able to do that. But it's a lot of work. A lot of staff is quarantined at this point. We have about 70 corrections officers that are quarantined. 19 have tested positive. And again, so we hope to be able to work through these next 2 weeks. We feel like we'll get the staff back, and we do feel like we have a handle on this outbreak at the jail, but continue to monitor it, obviously.
Yeah, I think we have to do something.
All right, thank you, Sheriff Williams. We appreciate it. We'd like to now go to Fire Chief Keith Powers for comments.
Thank you, Nikki, and good afternoon. Just as our city is dealing with the increase in COVID-19 cases, JFRD as well. As a result of the increase in exposures and positive cases within the department, JFRD began testing the entire fire and rescue department. This testing was instituted to help protect JFRD personnel and the public that we respond to. Saturday resulted in 166 tests conducted, and Sunday resulted in an additional 162. That was a 2-day total of 328. This testing will continue for all JFRD uniform personnel until all have had an opportunity to be screened. JFRD also has 2 decon teams that are working 24/7 with aeroclave units to decontaminate specific units that have transported suspected COVID-19 patients, but they also are routinely deconning all of our fire stations. In addition, ServPro graciously assisted JFRD in decontaminating 110 frontline apparatus last week. All of these efforts are a proactive attempt to prevent the virus spread and protect the health of the men and women serving on the front lines in this department. As a result of exposures or personnel experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, JFRD has 232 personnel in quarantine right now. Of those, 33 have tested positive for the virus, and we expect the number of positive will continue to increase while the department testing is conducted. What must be remembered is the 232 number is divided by 3 shifts. That means that we're dealing with approximately 77 vacancies per shift. Between the extra staffing we normally carry for vacation, job injuries, military leave, sick leave, etc., and JFRD personnel volunteering to work overtime, we've been able to keep all of our frontline units in service. I want to take a moment to thank the JFRD personnel who are continually volunteering for these extra shifts. Obviously, the more exposure they have, the higher chance they have of becoming infected. But as the men and women of JFRD always do, they put service before self. Without these personnel volunteering, we would struggle to maintain our staffing. So again, I want to say thank you. Nikki?
All right, thank you very much, Chief Powers. We'll take questions now. We're going to start with one person from each news outlet. And when we do call your name, please try not to ask more than 2 questions at a time. We'll start with Jim Piggott from News4Jax. Jim?
Nikki, there's a lot of information now that you released. Why the sudden turnaround on masks? The mayor was adamant about that last week, that this is not going to happen. Will there be any enforcement? Also, what effect that will have on the RNC. You also talked about fireworks coming down. I mean, with the other surrounding areas closing this off or not doing a show, we're going to have more people than ever coming down to take part in all of this, and you're opening up the grassy spaces down. Isn't that going to lead to problems? I'd also like to ask the fire chief as well, with the number of cases that we are now seeing and the total staff being tested, what happened? I mean, I thought they were going out being safe on runs now, always wearing masks. Any idea where this is coming from? And of course, we're going to have questions for the sheriff as well, but we'll get to those. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jim. I'm going to start with your question for Fire Chief Powers. Chief Powers?
Yes, Jim. A week and a half ago, we didn't have any people in quarantine. We didn't have any cases, but it's the same thing that's happening within the city and within other places in Florida right now. People are being exposed. They be exposed when they're off duty, not just when they're on duty. And those numbers, have begun to climb in the department. And the way we work, it doesn't take but one positive person, to affect other people that he works in close quarters with. Because remember, we work 24 hours at the time in very close quarters. So that's how it kind of got started within the department. But obviously within the last week, we've instituted, I think 3 new policies in the last week, with Friday night being the latest one, where we're requiring all of our personnel to be in masks all the time.
All right, thank you, Chief. Jim, I just want to touch briefly on your fireworks question. Then we'll go to Chief of Staff Jordan Elsbury, who could talk a little bit more about the mask mandate. The people in the city of Jacksonville have been through a lot. They continue to go through a lot with this pandemic. The 4th of July has always been a huge annual celebration here. We didn't want to cancel the fireworks. We wanted people to be able to enjoy them, to celebrate this very special holiday and celebrate their independence. So what we figured the best way to do this was to make it bigger, better, and safer. We have 6 different locations. We've also expanded the show in downtown Jacksonville so that people can be more spread out. We absolutely want people to social distance. We want them to wear their masks. If people are coming in from other communities, what we do ask is that you find a place to watch these fireworks at one of the 6 locations. You certainly have lots of options, but please just stay with your group or your family and stay socially distanced from others around you. By adding all these locations, we are certain that there are plenty of vantage points for everybody where they can practice these guidelines. And now we'll bring in Chief of Staff Jordan Elsbury to answer the question about the mask mandate. Jordan?
Yeah, hey Jim, a lot to unpack in your question there, but look, from the beginning of this, we've been asking people To exercise personal responsibility, beginning months ago, the mayor began asking people to wear a mask when you're in public and in public spaces. And as for the city's recent adoption of the mask, look, every single day almost, we have conversations with hospital providers and CEOs and other members of our community, and we felt that it was time to take the step. As it relates to the RNC, that event again is months away. We'll continue to monitor data and make informed decisions as time goes on to protect our people. But the policy is in place today.
Bridgette with Action News.
Hi, good afternoon. A couple questions. So just this past weekend, Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, they reported Jacksonville was the third metropolitan area in the country for COVID growth in the past week. That's as of June 27th. Now, medical experts say we could be a hot spot by mid-July. Does anyone have a comment on that? And if this continues, can that impact the RNC? What will it take for the RNC to be canceled or moved out of Jacksonville? And then one more question on the 4th of July. Any plans to close the beaches? We've seen other parts of Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm. They close their beaches from, I think, the 3rd to the 7th in some places. Do we have any plans there to do that?
Thank you very much, Bridgette. At this time, I'll take the question about the 4th of July first. At this time, we have no plans to close the beaches for the 4th of July. As for the study that you're mentioning from Johns Hopkins, well, it stands to reason we're going to see more positive tests because we're testing more than ever. Just between Lot J and Legends, we're testing double than we were even 3 weeks ago, up to 1,200 people some days, and those are just the state-run facilities. There are many other private locations that are testing people by the hundreds each day, and as we just mentioned, we're going to add 6 more locations plus mobile sites, so we're going to be offering more tests, which is going to mean more positives. You know, as our Chief of Staff, Jordan Elsbury, was saying, you know, we're working with hospital CEOs every day. These are some of the best hospitals in the country, and we rely on these individuals for up-to-date information daily. We listen to them when they give us guidance, and we're just going to continue to work with them and move forward with what we're doing, which, as Mayor Curry has said all along, one of the keys to this is offering more testing. With that, we're going to see increased numbers. I'll bring in Director Woodard to see if he wants to comment any further on this also. Director Woodard?
Yes, thank you, Nikki. And we do speak with the hospital reps every day. Cases obviously increased over the weekend, but you can see how widely the numbers fluctuate, and compared to what it was over the weekend, some of those numbers have been cut to about a third. Hospitals still have the capacity, and most of the cases do not require hospitalization. What we are seeing is that the most prevalent age group has shifted. It's now between age 25 and 34. Thanks.
Thank you, Director. And we'll now go to Mike with Daily Record. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that. This is a question for Sheriff Williams. In regards to the RNC, what's this current status on working with the federal government to secure resources for security for the RNC? And do you feel like you have what you need to keep folks safe from both the federal government and from a local standpoint? And I guess also, how will this mask mandate as far as affect the RNC, how would that be enforced in a large scale event like this?
So in terms of RNC planning, obviously, as you can imagine, we are in full swing with that planning, and we've gotten lots of cooperation from our federal partners up to this point. And in terms of the mask, I mean, that's the issue. We'll continue to work on that and have a detailed plan of what that may look like. Of course, if you're walking into a venue, and you don't have a mask, you wouldn't be allowed in. That's, off the top of my head, that's one of the quick and easy solutions to that. But we'll continue to work on all these plans as we get closer to it.
Thank you, Sheriff. Haley with First Coast News.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so an open letter to Mayor Curry and the City Council was made public a few days ago, signed by hundreds of local doctors asking you to scale back or postpone the RNC. They call hosting the event, quote, medically disrespectful and dangerous. So first, like, do you think that they are wrong? And second, are the medical advisors you consult with telling you something different? And if so, what? And what would the financial implications be for the city for withdrawing in terms of what we are already committed to spending?
Let me first address the letter that you're referring to. We did not receive that letter from the physicians until around 4 p.m. yesterday. When we got into the office this morning, we of course opened the email. We saw the letter, and just as we do with anyone who writes into Mayor Curry, we will respond to the sender, and we will do that in a timely manner. Again, even as you just mentioned, we do talk with these CEOs and hospital administrators from some of the top hospitals in the country, and we're talking to them daily. Mayor Curry is in constant contact with them, as well as other members of our staff, from Director Woodard to CAO Brian Hughes to our Chief of Staff Jordan Elsbury. We're in consistent contact, and we listen to what they have to say. I'm going to go to our Chief of Staff Jordan Elsbury right now too. I know that you had an additional question. Haley, I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
I said first, do you think that they're wrong for calling it dangerous? And then the second part of that question was, are the medical advisors you consult with telling you something different? And then what would the financial implications be for the city for withdrawing in terms of what we are already committed to spending?
It was the financial implications. Jordan Elsbury, our Chief of Staff, I'm going to bring him in to answer.
Sure, yeah. As for financial obligations, the city won't be on the hook for anything. I mean, the city hasn't spent anything to date. This is a private event put on by a private 501c3 host committee that works through solicitations of the donor community locally, state, and federal wide. So from a city perspective, I'm not worried about a financial responsibility associated with your question.
All right, AG with Florida Politics.
Hey, thank you, Nikki. This is another example of a big decision for this mayor where he's conveniently absent. Why couldn't the mayor put out a video talking about the necessity of a mask order, given they've invested a certain amount of political capital in posturing to the right, such as Fox News, et cetera? Why didn't he get out here and say this stuff? Why didn't he put out a video? Why is he leaving it to staffers to announce something that's going to be very controversial in the city? Thank you.
I'm going to let Jordan Elsbury comment on that in just a moment, but by no means is Mayor Curry absent for any reason other than he had a very important prior family commitment. We have several members of our staff here that are here in his place to answer questions. In addition, the mask mandate, that's something that was very fluid and decisions were being made this morning. Jordan, I'll let you comment further.
Sure, yeah, and to your point, Nikki, I think it'd be irresponsible for media to message that the mayor is conveniently absent for an announcement like this. Quite simply, we had a conversation with hospital providers this morning, like we always do. They present data, and we also communicate with, look, that to our knowledge, we found out this morning, if you're on one of the federal installations, such as, the NAS or a naval installation, they require masks to move about the base. So we found that out this morning, spoke with healthcare providers, and the decision was made this morning.
Thank you, Jordan. And, AG, quite frankly, if the mayor had put out a video, there wouldn't be an opportunity for media to ask questions and get answers. And we always want to provide that when possible. And we certainly were able to do that today. Sky from WJXT.
Hey, how's it going? Just had a quick question. So I assume this would be for Mr. Elsbury, but so are you saying prior to today's meeting, or maybe over the weekend, there's medical professionals that were saying that a mask mandate isn't necessary here? Because it seems like it seemed pretty necessary by the rest of the state. So over here, were you guys getting some type of different information?
I will pass it over to Jordan in just a moment, but first let me say, Sky, Mayor Curry since the very beginning has been telling people that wearing masks is the most important thing that they can do. I mean, from the very beginning, from the first press conference, it's been a consistent message to wear masks, and we've been receiving that information from those hospital administrators that we've been talking to on a daily basis. I'll let Jordan comment further.
Yeah, again, Nikki made the point, been talking to hospital providers now for months, been asking people to exercise personal responsibility to wear a mask for months. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, Ellen with Jack's Biz Journal.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Ellen.
Sorry about that. Thanks for taking my question. I believe somebody may have already asked this, so I apologize if I'm asking you to repeat yourself, but I was just wondering if you could walk me through how the mask mandate will be enforced. And then I was also wondering if there is any numeric point at which the city would reconsider hosting the convention. Thank you.
Jordan, I will let you repeat your answer from prior.
Sure. I'll address the RNC piece first. Continue to monitor data. That event is over 60 days away, so we'll continue to consult with healthcare experts and our EOC people in the Sheriff's Office. And I'm sorry, the first question related to enforcement with the masks. Look, we've asked people to exercise personal responsibility related to this for months, asking them to continue to do that now.
And Chris Hong with the Times-Union.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, so my first question is, how many people have been hospitalized locally who have been confirmed with having COVID-19 and are suspected of having it? And how many people in the ICUs have tested positive for COVID-19? My second question would be two parts. First, just elaborate where the order would apply for the mask mandate. And second of all, I didn't quite get the answer to Sky's question. He asked you guys if public health or health officials have asked or requested the city to mandate masks previously. Can you answer that? And if not, explain why not.
Okay, let me start with the number of COVID patients in ICUs and in hospitals. While we work with these hospitals on a daily basis, this is their proprietary information. It is theirs to release. With that, I'll bring in Director Woodard, and he can share with us the information that he is able to share.
Yes, so thank you, Nikki. The Department of Health has reported 5,839 cases overall for Duval County, and the total number of tests are 101,456. Thank you.
And I believe your other question had to do with following up to Sky's question on the mask mandate. And I'm going to bring back our Chief of Staff, Jordan Elsbury, for this. You know, one of the things, Chris, and we've said this all along, this is very difficult to enforce, but we have asked over and over again for people to just exercise that personal responsibility and wear those masks. And of course, we're hearing from medical professionals that that is one of the best ways to prevent the spread. Jordan?
Yeah, to address Sky's question directly related to what healthcare professionals have or have not said, they've advised us on the importance of wearing masks now for months, which is why every bit of messaging, every single press conference, the mayor has reiterated that point. Today, we had a conversation specifically around a mandate, and that's how we ended up at the policy position today.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us. I know there's still some media that have questions. If you could please submit them to our media inbox, we'll get those answered for you today before the afternoon. Sorry we didn't have time to get to everybody, but thank you so much for joining us today.
You got Jim.